So welcome everyone. This is our first session in New Year 2025. So wish you all a happy New Year. And as New Year starts, we normally make resolutions, and they don't go much far. Like they go for a few weeks at the most, and then they stop. So today we have got excellent guests who are going to help us to give some suggestions, some tips about how to keep our resolution. Thank you so much, Sabnis Kaka, for bringing Maniji and Dineshji to our platform. And now I will request Sabnis Kaka to introduce today's speaker. Sabnis Kaka.
Thank you, Anjali. Welcome, Dinesh and Mani. Good to see you both. And both are in kind of uh, mentors for changing your habits and personal transformations and also integrative wellness. They do many sessions for the corporate level, but they have also done it for Sri Yoga and many other groups. I wanted to mention that Dinesh recently traveled to, did this trekking at Everest Base Camp. So he's like 77 or 78, something like that. And it was one of his dreams, and he did this. So it's amazing that he was able to successfully, complete and, sometime we'll have him share experiences of his trip. So basically, both of them will help you, and many times the sessions are interactive. So let's see how that goes. Mani is local here. He's in Virginia. Local here in Washington D.C. area, and Dinesh is in California. Bay Area. So Dinesh, Mani, go ahead, get started. Thank you. And before that, let's just do a short meditation, just about 5 minutes or so. So sit in a comfortable position. Keep the shoulders relaxed, spine erect. As we inhale, stretch both arms sideways, spread all 10 fingers. Slowly bring both arms all the way down. Bend both elbows, elbows close to body. Take a deep breath in and make a tight fist. And release. Hands are on the knees. Keep your eyes closed, spine erect, shoulders relaxed. Let's continue with alternate nostril breathing. So middle finger and index finger between the two eyebrows. Take a deep breath in. Exhale out completely. Close the right nostril. Inhale from left. Hold the breath in. Close the left. Exhale from right. Hold the breath out. Inhale from right. Hold the breath in. Close the right. Exhale from left. Hold the breath out. And normal breathing. Keep the spine erect, shoulders relaxed. And observe your breathing. Think as if you're outside the body and you're observing yourself from outside. And keep these two thoughts in mind. I am breathing. And I am witnessing myself breathing. We'll stay here for a minute. Keep your eyes closed, spine erect. Slightly tilt your head back. And with your eyes closed, look between the two eyebrows. God is everywhere. God is within you. Completely surrender to the divine and fill your heart with love and gratitude. And now we'll finish with one Om. So hands in prayer. Take a deep breath in. Om. Namaste, everyone. Dinesh and Mani, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shriji and Mani and all the participants here. Let me start with congratulating you all because the most important thing is showing up and taking the time. So you all are showing up and you're taking time. So that tells me that you are serious about it. And you all, we heard about New Year's resolutions. So, how many, just a quick show of hands, how many of you had a New Year resolution? Either you can put it in the chat or you can just raise your hand so we get an idea. So, and how many, first of all, how many of you would like to open up videos for a few minutes so we can see each other? There is something very special about eye-to-eye contact. When we look into somebody's eyes, it has a new meaning. And in the morning, if you get up and simply looking at your family member's eyes, and how many of you hug at least one person in your family every morning? Anybody? Yeah, right, right. Some people are raising hands, and that you get a lot of free energy, free chemicals simply by looking into each other's eyes and simply by hugging each other. How many of you are aware that we get serotonin, a lot of chemicals for free, and some free energy? And if we continue, if you can look into each other's eyes and hug each other, and if you can appreciate, that's just magic. You start your day with appreciating each other, one simple thing, and immediately you find that you're bursting with energy. How many of you have experienced that? Starting your day in the morning, right? Wonderful. So there are a few people who are raising hands. Amita, would you like to share anything, your experience when you start your day with hugging and appreciation? How do you feel? How is your energy?
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Actually, my younger one, so yes, is very happy and like is fulfill energy with Kunti. Yes, definitely, I feel that.
Thank you. Thank you, Amita. Anyone else would like to share their experience of early morning? All right.
So I just want to mention that these sessions are more interactive. So, feel free to talk and ask questions and so on. Sorry, Dinesh, go ahead.
Sure. So we absolutely believe in that the more there is a conversation, more sharing of experience, because we have just learned few things working together. And I feel very fortunate to have Mani as my co-speaker, co-convener today, because both of us like to experiment and learn from everyone. And we have been doing this kind of retreats for the past 3 years. And we have learned so much from just listening to people. And what we are going to share with you is a lot of it we have learned from sessions like that. So we would love to hear about your success stories, your experiences, and we would love to share our success stories and our experiences. I want to start with just saying that it's very easy to be happy and healthy and move, adopt the habits we want. It's really easy. It's not difficult. Now, it takes a lifetime to practice them. So if you are struggling with it, you're not the only one, because sometimes even simpler things takes a lot of effort. And we have spent a lot of time understanding why is it so? Why, like making your bed. How many of you make the bed every morning? As you get up, do you make the bed? Right? And one of the key things is the moment you make the bed, you are starting your day right because you have achieved something in the morning. It's a very small step, take 2 minutes or maybe less, and now you're already feeling better. So one of the key things we have found is that how do you manage your emotions as you start the day? And that can set the whole pace. And as we go into bigger changes, when people want to do something more, which is more challenging, like going to gym, or, and then maintaining it, we have learned that you have to answer the why you want to adopt that. If it's just a resolution, everyone else, is saying, let's make a resolution. You also said, yeah, something good to do, and you made a resolution, then it doesn't. Uh, how many of you know the percentage of successful resolutions? There is a Gallup poll and there's the numbers on that. Anyone knows what percentage of people are successful when with the New Year's resolutions? Any idea? Anyone would like to guess?
Anagaji is guessing, but you're on mute. 9% Sriji
Yeah,
says.
you're absolutely correct. It's about 9 to 11%, give and take a percentage here and there. So why 9 out of 10 people are not able to maintain their New Year's resolutions? So I think if we pay attention to the word resolution, that itself tells us something. The difference between resolution and intention. And I think the Hindi or the Sanskrit words are even more powerful. You can have a vichar, or you can have a prastav, or you can have an idea that I want to do something, versus if you have a sankalp that I want to do it. So if you have sankalp, immediately your commitment is stronger, your commitment is higher. So sankalp is different than a suggestions or a prastav or a vichar. And intention is much more powerful than resolution. So I think, first of all, we have to really go and examine after we start our day in gratitude. So, number one thing, whenever we work with groups and teams to help them adopt habits, the first thing we do is to work and create a sense of gratitude. And Institute of Heart Math has done a lot of scientific study, and they have found that when we meditate or when we do any mindful exercise, or even simply, if we can just visualize that love is flowing from the back of our heart to the front of our heart, and the love is flowing from me to another person, a simple act of just visualizing the flow of love begins to bring our heart rate variability. It begins to kind of harmonize our heart simply by visualizing a simple thing like that. So, any of the gratitude practices which we shared with you and we will share in this program, they immediately bring a sense of harmony, a sense of peace, and you begin to calm down. And these days, a lot of apps are available. So if you have an app, you will immediately notice change in your heart rate variability. And you will find that your heart will begin to be much more smooth and consistent as opposed to going up and down and varying a bit. So that is the power of our ability to control our emotional self. So once we begin to do that, once we begin to learn that, whether we do it by meditation or by mindfulness or any other method, the question then we have to ask is, why do we want to change? Why do we want to adopt a new habit? And how strongly we feel about it. I have some people in my life, doctors have given them 3 months that if they don't change their lifestyle, they'll have to go through a open heart surgery or some sort of a major heart surgery. Now, those people are highly motivated. And people who are diabetic type 2 and still having problem stopping sugar or other issues, again, when doctors tell them that we'll have to do some surgery on your toe, I think that's the point where people get very strongly open to adopting the new habits or the new lifestyle. But can we do it without having such a strong threat to us or fear to us? Can we be inspired to adopt new habits? And that's another point. Can we be inspired to do something, going to Kailash, for example? If you set a goal this year that I want to go to Kailash, that will begin to help you. And I'm telling you from my personal experience, because I set a goal of when at my 75th birthday that I want to go to Everest Base Camp. And that motivated me so much. Every morning when I needed to get out and walk 6 to 7 miles to practice, it motivated me. I started visualizing how it would be to be on Everest Base Camp, and that helps us. So we can motivate ourselves by getting inspired by a higher vision. Vision could be a personal, it could be much bigger than us. It could be to serve the humanity, to do some sort of service. And who better than Srikanji? I attend his class whenever I'm here in US, and his dedication to helping people out. Those kind of things can motivate us also to do amazing things. So the question we have to answer, and each one of you, I'd like you to ask the question, why do you want to change it? And then visualize, if you are able to achieve this change, what are the benefits? How your life, it'll impact your life. And it'll be nice to actually write it down on a piece of paper. What are the benefits by achieving this feat? How would you feel about it? So I'll take a stop here and give a chance to Mani if you would like to add anything at this point, Mani, and what's your take on why?
Yeah. Thank you, Dinesh, for sharing this beautiful start and inspired by you and Srikanji. And last year, I want to thank Srikanji. In 2024, we started in Maryland and with a group of people in person in one of the group, yoga groups people. And it was a fantastic gathering. I'm glad we are able to repeat it in 2025 in a similar fashion, both online as well as in person, when possible. The idea of, I think, Dinesh talked about what are the holding our bed. One of the things I do is as soon as I get up from bed, I check myself, I'm alive. So that itself brings me a joy to my face because a lot of people, they don't get up from the bed and overnight, right? So that itself is a place where we can start and saying, I'm grateful for, as Sriji said, in terms of God or whoever the higher power that we subscribe to was given us this beautiful day for us to explore. So I want to be grateful for each of you, for 65 of us to join here. And that is a fantastic place for us to start, both in terms of gratitude as well as setting ourselves in terms of a happy place to start. And with that, wellness and well-being is very easy. And so, Dinesh, that's what I want to add. If you want to add more, or if you want me to show the slides, I'm happy to do that. Let me know how you want to.
Yeah, thank you, Mani. And we have few slides that over the years we have accumulated. Love to share them with you. But at this time, what I would like is, number one, anyone here from the Bay Area, California, where I am? Anyone from Bay Area? Okay, I see one hand.
Actually,
Anyone?
my Madhav Deshpande, that's my brother-in-law. He's also from Bay Area.
Okay, okay. So there are a couple of people. So those of you are in Bay Area, I'd love to connect with you, meet with you. We are doing a one-day session here in San Jose on January 19th, and you're most welcome. We can put the information at the end to join us. We try to do those kind of sessions, one-day sessions in Bay Area, and actually in Washington D.C. also, like Mani said. Now, uh, second question. At this point, anyone would like to say anything before we get into slides and talk more? Any questions? Are we kind of addressing what you have in mind, or we can do course correction here? So anyone would like to make any comment?
I see a hand raised by Anjali ji.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not practical. I'm just listening to it. But my whole point is आपल्या सवयी आपल्या आसपासच्या लोकांपासनं किंवा
Anjali,
आपल्या
Anjali, sorry, just both Mani and Dinesh may not be fluent in Marathi, so.
Oh, okay. So my point is, our habits are usually by looking at other people around us when we were growing up, or from our family members. The same thing, our ailments are the same way when we see around people what they are going through at their certain age. I think it will be even more motivated if we look at surroundings and then change the habits. That's a good motivation too. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anjali ji. Totally agree with you. Anyone else would like to share any thought? Please unmute yourself, Suniti ji.
Okay.
Yeah.
Furthering what Anjali was just saying, suppose I have developed some habits from my parents and now I'm 77. Is there a way to change? I hate it when I do it. Like I'm diabetic and I keep on eating sweets because I saw my mother and father do it. It's easy to blame them, I know. And is there a way to change that now?
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Suniti ji. The answer is absolutely a overwhelming, emphatical yes. What we have learned, you can change at any point. At age is not a number. Age is just a number. It's not a factor. I think it's once you can answer why you want to change it and what's motivating you to change it, then you will find it quite easy to change it. But and that's what we try to help people with, to answer that why. So Anjali ji, what you said, first thing we like to do is to share our stories. When we spend a day, it is so wonderful to see that the stories we tell ourselves, that's where lies our deeper beliefs and our deeper consciousness. I'll give you a simple example. One person uh, smokes or one person drinks alcohol and the other person does not. If you listen to their stories, you'll find the person is saying, the person who drinks alcohol, he would say, well, I believe that it's very good for stress. The data he has or she has is kind of supports that belief that by drinking one or two glasses of wine every evening, it's good for me. It cuts down my stress. Or some people may say, well, it's important for socializing. Or they may have seen their parents drinking and they continue. In fact, I have come to believe that more than your genetic makeup, your habit transformation is more powerful. If you grew up in a family where in the morning you started your breakfast like I did, you started your breakfast with jalebi and kachori, then obviously you will follow that. And until you see the data and you become aware that it's detrimental to my health, and when you have a desire to live a long and healthy life, that's where you begin to see well. And when you become aware that you have a choice, yes, you can choose and make different choices and lead a healthy and happy life. That's where I think the awareness comes, and there is a higher probability that you'll be able to adopt the change. So number one is to be aware of the stories we are telling ourselves, the narratives we are telling ourselves, and the habits we have followed. Now, like Suniti ji said, if we are in a frame of mind where we are blaming other people, like he did that or that person did it, then it becomes harder because now we have. But when we begin to take responsibility that, well, even though I grew up in a family where I learned these habits, but I have a choice. I have a choice. And I call that really empowering yourself. The day you stop blaming other people and take responsibility, that day you open up choices. And those choices are most important for us to make a habit change, in my experience. And to Anjali's point, now I have a choice to look at some other stories. I can look at people who are not drinking, or I can look at people who have managed their diabetes very well. So that's where I think I can change my stories. I begin to think about other stories. And once I can change my story, at the change happens at the subconscious level. And our changing stories and affirmations you hear, positive affirmations, all those things help us move in that direction. So again, I'll stop here. Mani, you want to add?
Yeah, two things comes to me, the Dinesh. One is even my own. I have a sweet tooth. Whenever I eat lunch or dinner, I want to finish it with a sweet snack. And previously, I used to eat some chocolate or something in this thing. After meeting Dinesh, now I eat dates, right? And this is a way we can satisfy some of our desire for sweet or whatever with a positive or a useful natural element. So there are ways like that that we can collaborate with each other and share with one another. And I think this is one of the key things that I have found as a successful strategy. I myself, if I am quiet within myself, I may not find all the resources or strategies to cope with any challenge that I have. But together, collectively, I'm sure each one of us is smarter and more resourceful than if you are by yourself. So that is one of the things we found in terms of success criteria to have some buddy system or a group process that works effectively.
So, Mani, I just want to mention one thing. This is Sri Sabnis. That talking about group environment. First of all, last January, Mani and Dinesh had that session for us, and many people wanted to start meditations. So to help them on Sri Yoga, we have started daily 20-minute meditation from 9:30 p.m. There are other things also. And also, pranayam and easy class. Every day there is pranayam, 2 classes, and so on. So any kind of, anyone that's interested in these activities, certainly, and you are welcome to join. Also, if you think of something else that will help you, let us know and we'll try to come up with something that will help you.
Thank you so much, Srikanji, for starting the evening meditation. I already joined the pranayam classes, and I look forward to joining your evening meditation as well. So I think Mani said something very important. Yeah, go ahead, Mani.
Dinesh, there is a comment also in the group in the chat, but
Yeah.
you can continue.
And
Okay.
there are some hand raised if you would like to take questions here or at the end. There are some hand raised in Anjali Bhide has raised their hand.
Yeah, please, please. I know we'd like to make it interactive, so we'll just take the questions now as we're talking. Go ahead, Anjali ji.
So my question is, when you substitute date for sugar cravings, is it an intermediary step? But the eventual goal is to really give up or eliminate sugar from your diet, because refined sugar is bad. It's now known that it's an addictive molecule, is my question. So you
Well,
add steps in between until you reach the goal, because you are now aware that some habit is not good for you. That was the question.
Lovely.
thank you so much, Anjali ji. Number one, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not even a nutritionist. I'm just a practitioner. And I have a very good friend, Lalit Mohan Kapoor, and he has been running these classes. Anyone interested, I'll give you the link, and you're welcome to join. And he has done amazing amount of research from his own experience, how he cured himself, and now he conducts these retreats around the globe. And I just had the pleasure of spending this weekend with him, and I can share a lot of data with you. And these days, there are a lot of apps also available. So the latest what I've heard is that each food is not same for everyone. So our bodies react differently. So the best would be to check with your doctor and see. But to best of my understanding, what I've learned with Lalitji, that dates and the sugar in the fruits, that is not harmful for us. Again, in the moderate quantities, not excessive. And especially for a normal person who is not a diabetic, substituting sugar laddu with a laddu made with the dates have totally different impact. And you will notice that you will be able to maintain your low sugar levels eating the sweets made out of dates and made out of nuts and raisins. So there are substitute. They are substitute to sugar and they're very effective. So what Mani mentioned, you can satisfy your sweet tooth without spiking your insulin.
So we have
Because
expert nutritionist Alka Deshpande here. So
absolutely.
Alka,
Nice
if you
to
want to say a few words about this.
nice
Yeah,
to
I
hear
mean,
from Alka ji as well. Yeah.
yeah, so I 100% agree with Dinesh ji. There are few ways to take the sugar. I mean, the natural sugar is always a best alternative over the refined sugar. And everybody's body is different. The way it gets absorbed in the system is different. There are lots of pros and cons of what is getting reacted into your body. So you can always check the things and see which is the best option. There are so many natural options. Again, the dates which you're saying, if it is in the dried quantity, it is much better because it becomes a little sweeter than the regular dates. And that's another, it's a good option to get it also. So there are many different ways, natural ways of fruits, adding different types of fruits in the food over sugar is the best thing. Absolutely.
Thank you, Alkaji. And I think that's the point I want to emphasize that when you are changing your lifestyle, the first thing is people think of, oh, I'm punishing myself or I have to now go through a difficult, challenging time. I would like you to reframe it. I'd like you to say I'm celebrating because once you get used to the date mithai, or if you get used to the nuts and dates and smoothies. I mean, if you imagine starting your day with a green smoothie and it's delicious. So make one of the key things I have found, whatever you are changing, whatever you are adopting, make it delicious and celebrate it, not only taste wise, but in your mind also. It's like when you're working out in a gym. If you begin to say pain is gain, you'll find in many gyms it says pain is gain. If you're saying as you are going through the exercise, you say, "Oh my God, this pain is really my gain." It's a totally different mindset. So by reframing, you can make adopting the habits a joyful experience. It doesn't have to be a pain. And how do we make it joyful? What Mani mentioned earlier. Find a buddy. And it is so easy. And I just prove it to you. Let's say you want to go for a walk in the morning at 6 o'clock or evening at 6 o'clock, and you are having hard time doing it alone. But one of your best friend, you make a deal, both of you, and she or he begins to show up. Would you go for a walk or not go for a walk? Would you? Absolutely, you would go because there is friendship. You look forward to meeting your friend. And so, like, I play golf, why? Because my golf buddies, we look forward to seeing them. So, whenever you want to change a habit, make find a buddy. That is the easiest way to adopt a new habit. Once you have a buddy and both of you start doing it together, whether it's going to the gym or waking up at 5 in the morning to do yoga, or going for a walk in the evening, anything you want to do, if you can find a buddy, that's the best. Now, second best would be to find a virtual buddy. I call so many people at in the morning. They want to get up at 5. They don't have anybody. So our deal is that they would text me every morning on WhatsApp. And if I don't get a text from them, then I call them to wake them up. And it works fairly well. So make a deal with someone. Find a buddy, and if you want to get up in the morning, both of you want to get up in the morning, make a deal that you'll call each other, and maybe chat for a minute or two to make sure that you're fully awake. So buddy system is very powerful, and the group support that we learned looking at the model of Alcoholic Anonymous. If you look at Alcoholic Anonymous, the organization, which is very popular for helping people give up drinking, which is probably very addictive behavior, and their success rate is about 36%. Uh, and our goal, we set, Mani and I, we said our goal is we want to be 80% successful. So how do we bring 80% success? Well, that's where we got deeper into it. I'm going to stop here, and Mani, if you want to go
Yeah. And I
deeper
see
with
one
it.
hand, Bhavna ji. Give me 1 second. I want to bring in one from Yoga Sutra. I think Dinesh talked about reframing. Vitarka Badane Pratipaksha Bhavanam. This is one of the Yoga Sutras which talks about when you are in doubt, you can always reframe and take it into a positive domain, and that makes it easier for your emotions to get involved. When your emotions is getting involved, any change that you want to do, it makes it easier, right? And that's why we start with gratitude and celebration. Okay, Bhavna ji, on to you.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes. I just want to share my own experience. I feel making the habits, changing the habits, it depends on the self-discipline and confidence that I reverse my gestational diabetes within 20 years. I reverse it. Now I'm normally sugar, uh, normal A1C test is coming because I was so determined to get out of that problem. And it was a gestational because when I was pregnant, I got diabetes. But there was a foundation because my mother was diabetes. Okay, so doctor didn't say I was on the borderline and I continued to have the medicine. I changed totally my lifestyle, being more active, exercising, and the diet change, everything was, and I was so much like self-discipline and determined. And I did, and I reversed my diabetes. So, what I think that self-discipline is more important in changing the um, habits and forming the new habits. That's what I said.
Beautiful.
Yeah, no,
Self-discipline.
Bhavnaji,
Yes.
totally in agreement with you. But let me ask you one question. Before and after, before you were not able to, what prompted you? Was it some sort of a concern in your mind? What will happen, or what prompted you to bring this discipline and change the kind of the
Habit.
habit
Yes,
you had
yes,
from before? Yeah.
yes. Because my mother had all her life after retirement, she had a serious diabetes, you
Mhm.
know. So I was thinking, and she lost one kidney also because of that diabetes. So
Okay.
I was taking it seriously that what if it happened to me,
Hmm.
because I might inherited that, you know. Even if before I was not diagnosed, but while pregnant, I got diagnosis. So there was a foundation already. There are more chances to get diabetic to me. So after my boy was delivered and they said it will reverse, but it didn't. So I continue on the medicines and change my lifestyle long time. And then I that was the concern that I don't want to get that severe diabetes for me. So I
So
was determined and I changed and I reversed that diabetes.
thank you so much for sharing, because that's the point I think we had made earlier, that if you are aware of the negative consequences of your current behavior, is
Yes,
also very important. On one side, you can also write down, once you adopt the new habit, how nice it would be, how great it would be. At the same time, I think this is also important to write down the consequences, that if you don't change your habit, what may be the dire consequences. And in your case, what motivated you probably is that you don't want to lose your kidney like your mom. So that was a probably a motivating factor as well.
yes, yes. And
Right.
it makes me proud of myself. It gives me the joy. Like, yes, I wanted to do and I did it. I'm doing it. So that also motivates me more to follow and keep the consistency.
Thank
So
you so
whenever I
much.
was going to the get together and they were forcing me, I said, as a respect, I can have just taste little bit, like a नैवेद्य जैसे भगवान को भोग लगाते हैं, तो
Mm.
पूरी थाली तो नहीं लगाते ना, रखते
Right.
हम महाराष्ट्र में तो वैसे I was respecting their request,
Thank
honoring
you.
their force, but not going out of my way, you know.
Yeah, lovely.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much for sharing that. And Mani,
Yes,
please.
So Dinesh,
thank you.
interesting. I think there is two things coming up. One is for me, fear
Yeah.
can motivate you, or as you rightly said, the willpower can motivate you. But there is a deeper version of it, which is the intention or sankalpa that we talked about earlier. Can you elaborate a little bit more from your perspective? Because that is to me, that is more holistic. It is not raga dvesha or intention willpower that is forcing us to change. It is internally realizing who we are and what we want in life, and therefore that habits come forth as a natural spring that is coming inside from us. How do you see that, Dinesh?
So I have given a lot of thought to this question, and where I am with that is the more you begin to align with your purpose, all of us have always, and in the rat race of life, we forget sometimes. I was just reading in California, some of you may have seen, there is this lady who wanted to paint all her life. And at 73, now she's painting the Yosemite, and she's been recognized and honored for her painting. And this was a dream, all a lifelong dream. So many of us have dreams, what our life we want to achieve. But given the challenges of life, sometimes we are not able to fulfill them and we forget them. And I find that if you can align, if you can rekindle and align with your dreams or your passions or your purpose and the things you are good at, uh, uh, you go back and you think of what are the qualities which people appreciate in you, what you get complimented. You may be a good actress or a good actor. You may be a good singer. You may be a natural counselor to people. And once you discover what your purpose is and you begin to align with that purpose, that is the kind of motivation that comes very deep and very powerful, much more powerful than any discipline can do. For example, if you always wanted to help people, and then you got an opportunity to start doing something where you are touching a life or two. Now, the more you align with that your deeper purpose that you want to help, you have a need to help other people, and easier it will become for you to change your habits. But for example, to help people, now you have to get up early in the morning. You will be so internally driven, so motivated that you will not even realize that you are changing your habit very quickly. And I shared my personal example that Everest Base Camp was my deep need. And once I aligned with that idea, it motivated me in the last 2, 3 years to really go to gym every day almost. And so money, my take on that is that align with your purpose, discover your purpose and align with your purpose, and that will inspire you like anything.
Yeah,
What's
I
your take
think
on
I have beautiful, well said. I have a tweet that I in Sanskrit it calls Swabhava Spandane Swadharma Jivanam. If you want to have your own life expressed fully in full potential, right? You have to be in your own Swabhava. And the Swabhava is gives you Swatantra, right? So they're all connected in a way. It is not just that you are disciplining yourself or you're forcing yourself. It is like a natural flow of a river that is coming from you and flows into the world in a joyful manner, right? I think Srikanji is a fantastic example I see as a Guruji because naturally at his age, for him to get up and create so much of yoga for so many people, it is not something that he can force himself to. It is naturally flowing out of him into the rest of the world, so that the rest of the world can benefit. And that is what we call in English as purpose. but in Sanskrit we call it as Swadharma. So thank you, Dinesh, for sharing your own view on EBC and other beautiful things. And last point I want to say is age is not a limit there, because at any age you can connect with your own Swadharma. And it is not fear based, it is purely from a joy or Sachitananda kind of element, where it is coming from your own inner Ananda that flows out.
In fact, Mani, to add to that, we actually discover your purpose by observing those things which gives us that joy, like walking in nature, and when the time stands still. You know that Bollywood song, "Samay ka ye pal tham sa gaya hai." When we reach those moments, that beautiful moments, whether we are in nature, when time stands still, we feel that there is no time, and hours go by, time flies. Those are the moments. That's where you are aligned. So if you can align with your purpose, and the very simple way to and what we do, we have a 12-week program actually, and we dedicate a lot of time in discovering and aligning with that purpose, because it's not easy, because what happens is that we have forgotten about that. And so sometimes it takes some discovery to what is that purpose, what is that which can bring smile on my face and peace in my heart, and I'm really inspired to do things. So that's very important, I think, for your habit change. Mani, is that a good time to share some slides?
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
good. Let me bring
Any
it up.
any while Mani is setting it up, any other observations, comment, or question?
Can you see the slide in full slide mode?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just quickly say, I think most of this we have already covered. I will just walk you through, because some of us we listen better. Some of us want to see it on the screen. So, there are different ways of learning that is possible. So we want to make sure that we support all learners, right? And in this process, I think we talked about a couple of first questions, which is adopting habit easy or hard, right? And the way in which I define is there are two ways we can look at it. One is individually, if I suppose each one of us make New Year resolutions, and are we able to fulfill it by the year that we have taken on? Or we can take it as a group project. Let's say there are 65 people here, as Dinesh mentioned. If there are 10 people in a group, if 8 of them adopt a particular any habit that they have chosen, that is one way to measure as a group. We have done that both in companies and communities. We look at both metrics as a way to look at it. The second question we are looking at is how is it connected to our wellness? We talked about a lot of health, diabetes, and other illness related challenges. And also a concept called well being, which is much more different and much more deeper than wellness, that we will talk about also quickly. And then how do we this also applies to companies, because when we look at companies, what we found is that to retain and hire best talent, this also comes into play. So that is one of the reasons I put it out here, because can you be an engaged employee in or engaged community member in any situation? There are different approaches possible, different models exist, and how to make a right resolution and not cookie cut it from somebody else. If somebody else says, I want to reduce weight, let's not adopt it for ourselves and make sure that it works for us. And what help we need, and how do we get that? So this is kind of what I wanted to share quickly. I know we have talked most of it, so I'll just walk you through some of the details of it. A quick thing is that a success rate for a habit adoption of New Year's, it starts anywhere from 0 to 100%. And this is typically what we see. When I say 0% means that people start practicing on the first week of January. And then by the time second week and third week comes in, it goes away. And our Indian model, we look at as one mandala. Are you able to do it for at least 42 to 48 days or at least 21 days? We should do something. And therefore, you have a habit starting to form. It is like a seed that you plant on the soil. It needs to sprout. It needs to sprout 2 leaves at least. and then it can become a small tree or a plant, right? And New Year's resolutions typically have 11% success rate. I think most of you said 2 or 9%, which is very, very much true. And there are reasons is that there are many factors that contribute to the habit formation. First one is we can do it through discipline, we can do it through willpower. We find that sometimes doing it through forcing it through willpower or discipline or even fear based, something happened to my parents and therefore I want to avoid it, that is what I call a raga dvesha. So if you have a dvesha towards something, that can help you somewhere to get moving. But to get fulfilled way of or satisfied way of exploring it, we need to go a little deeper is what we have found out. That is where we bring in the sankalpa or commitment to intention that you're creating and understanding the why that behind the intention. Of course, you need to set measurable goals and you need to track progress on a weekly or a daily basis. And you definitely need to be motivated and flexible or adaptable. For example, if you have a set a goal that I will eat one particular meal, and then suddenly there is a marriage or suddenly there is a function, and you cannot say no, I will not come there because I cannot follow my meal plan, and therefore it becomes less adaptable and therefore you become more isolated. So our idea is to make sure that how do we be in the society and still be adapting to our own intention. And of course, we can also enroll the support of our network, people in the network that we can, align up with. The whole idea is to create success, and success varies from person to person. I think Alkaji mentioned it. How we eat food, how it reacts within us is very different. I am a Kriya Yogi. I do a lot of Kriyas, and as Kriya Yogi, I can see at inside my body, not just at a emotional level or mental level, at an energetic level or at a cellular level, how I react to certain things, right? And recently, I had I had a pitta dosha, and I was doing kriya, and I could literally see how the pitta dissipating within me when I was doing it. So that was very amazing for me. I had never experienced that before. So the idea is to create that kind of an environment or setup within ourselves to see how we can drive. Of course, we also need to get support from others, buddy system or our network that we talked about. All of this can help. So the number of help we can get from friends, family, community, encouragement, accountability, resources, all of them add up to getting this success all the way from 11% to higher and higher. Our objective is to get it to 80%. So it's not a question of whether it is easy or hard. It is a question of how you have created your environment for success, right? And that is very important. And our goal, as I said, is can you say, if you set a New Year resolution for 2025, what is the guarantee by February end, which is at least a mandala from now, right? That is why we have a Ritu system or 6 Ritus in India. And all these are easy way for us to recalibrate and reassociate and re-engage with ourselves, saying that this is something that I want to do. And of course, in where we are, the weather also changes quite a bit. Walking in the winter is very difficult. By the time spring rolls around, it is easier to walk, and summer is much, much easier. So those are all the elements that we need to factor in than when we are in Maharashtra or wherever we were from. When we were childhood, our experience would have been different. So the idea is to create a personalized and unique needs and preferences that makes us work. What is our samsara, vasanas and samskaras, and understand that so that we can create a system that works for us and create a design learning and support that will encourage me personally, because I may be wired differently than Dinesh. Dinesh at the age of 75 may be able to go to EBC and do it, whereas I might have different requirements. I have been a triathlete and done various other things. I've jumped out of a plane, I've done a scuba diving, various things. So my requirements may be different. So our objective is to create a personalized design learning environment and set goals and clarity as accordingly, and create a behavioral strategy and accountability and support corresponding to that. Therefore, we can create a positive reinforcement cycle and develop education and awareness associated with it so that it can stay flexible and adaptable, and a continuous improvement can happen. I think Japanese call it as a Kaizen model. So this is something that we can look at it. And these are the pieces that I want to look at how we can, how when you are thinking about resolutions, think element around a holistic system rather than something forced by discipline or fear. Dinesh, anything you want to add? Otherwise I'll just keep going on the slides.
I think one thing which is very important is adaptability and flexibility. So the example Mani gave that we normally allow one day as a cheat day. So if you're 7 day, for example, you are doing a walk every day. If you miss one day, no problem. But what we encourage, don't miss more than one day in a row. If you miss for 2 days, now it's going to get harder for you. Third day, you would not want to go. So, but it's okay to miss one day. That's flexibility. That's adaptability. We are human, and there are times when we'll not be able to do it. So it's perfectly okay. So setting yourself up with that expectation that if you are doing it, let's say your expectation is 5 out of 7 days you will do it, and 2 days you will not go to gym. That's okay. And even out of 5 days, if you have to miss one day, okay. But don't miss whatever your goal is, don't miss more than a day. That's our recommendation.
Lovely. I don't know whether you can see this. I have this app which shows greens and reds and oranges. This is my walking 10,000 step. And that I use it as a way to track it. So we can use technology and other things that can support us in the process. And sometimes I have a 10,000 step every day goal. And other times I monitor as 7 weeks, 7 days, 70,000 steps, right? So even if I miss one day, I can catch up. But the important thing is, how can you be kind to yourself, right? Because this human being that is making the effort to change is also being criticized by ourselves, right? We are the toughest critique for ourselves. And therefore, how can you be kind and compassionate towards yourself as you are making that change, which is an important thing because you are trying to make the change and therefore acknowledge your own intention to be more happier and healthier.
Now,
Okay.
Mani, I want to emphasize that point of what Mani just touched on. And as we get deeper into it, I think you will notice that it's very difficult for us to forgive our own self. We can forgive the whole world, and it's very difficult for us to love ourselves. So I would go as far as to say that we must start not only kind and compassionate to others, but to our own self. And we must first love ourselves, because once you forgive yourself, once you love yourself, it becomes a lot easier to forgive other people and love other people. So again, be kind, be compassionate, be loving to yourself. You are trying to change, and it's going to take time, and sometimes you're going to have setbacks, which is perfectly okay.
Thank you,
All right.
Dinesh. Dinesh, you want to talk about wellness versus well-being? I think this slide is beautifully talks to that. I want to.
All right. So I think what we realize that all these things are interconnected. You cannot really talk about physical health unless you tackle the emotional health. If a person and any doctors in our group, my doctor tells me that the stress is number one factor behind most of the diseases. So emotional well-being is as or equally important as physical well-being. Similarly, if you look at, and we have these four of those internal wellness elements: physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, and four external elements: financial, environmental, social, and professional. Now, if you are financially not doing well, then of course everything is shaken up. If you're not physically not doing well, everything is shaken up. But in order for you to be in harmony, the spiritual element is equally important. So they are all intertwined. You cannot work in isolation, and that's why we call it integrative wellness. And the word I like is well-being, which also refers to integrating internal and external factors. So that's what we are trying to say here by well-being. Back to
Thank
you,
you.
Mani.
Thank you, Dinesh. And add to that, I think it can be done at an individual level or a interpersonal or family level. Like uh, organizations and communities like this, we can also look at how can we do it as a group. For example, if one of the goals, Sriji says, hey, there are about whatever X number of people here, how many of you are going to commit to being well and being alive in the next 2026 rolls up, right? A lot of hands will, all hands will go up, right? And that is the easy one to get commitment, but to get a follow through and then keep each other accountable, right? If Alkaji says something, Alkaji has got a lot of knowledge. If I can leverage off of her and she can hold me accountable, then definitely each of us can benefit from each other, right? Like that, we can look at interpersonal models, community based models, or organizational based models in a company, and then therefore going into global, not just the GDP side, but global national happiness, GNH, and other models also we are looking at. Each one can be built on top of it. So that's why be aware that the well-being or wellness, integrated wellness, it's not just personal that you're talking about. Once you start doing it within yourself, you can influence your spouse, your kids, your people around you, and therefore they also start impacting others. Now I think yesterday or day before, I start seeing that another virus started coming from this thing. So therefore we need to be aware of what is going around us, and therefore how can we be influencing factor, not just in terms of changing ourselves, but be a change maker, so that the community itself benefits from we being what we are doing. And that is something to be aware of. And the last thing I want to look at is in terms of resolution itself. The main key thing I found that is we tend to adopt resolutions which are somebody else is doing. All of us say, oh, somebody else is losing weight, I also want to lose weight. Somebody else want to become millionaire, I want to become millionaire, right? We tend to copycat a lot of this. But the question is the resolution right for me? Does it make sense where I am at this point of time, given what my goal is for the next 2 years or 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, however long you can look at? It has to be specific in terms of your need to achieve desirable results, but can you keep it in conjunction with how can you be kind to yourself? How can you hold accountable at the same time, get the support that you need to make the change? And Dinesh mentioned at the start, all of us showing up here, we need to kind of pat ourselves in the back, because this is one of the toughest thing to do, to show up. Once you show up, then you have to adapt to that change, and naturally it will start flowing into it, because there is expertise and guidance and other things start coming in, because people like Shrikantji, they are creating this platform for each of us to get better with it, right? And that is already there. The support system is already there for us to leverage. But we want to do it in an efficient way, and that saves us time and money and effort, right? That is our own process. And what process, sometimes we adopt something and then we kind of forget it and go to counterproductive ways. For example, if you say that I want to not eat sugar because I have diabetes in my family or whatever it is, and yet we are not able to follow through because our vasanas, the samskaras is gravitating us, pulling us towards the direction of more sugar or this thing. We can create the stepwise system. We can go from refined sugar to date and then slowly withdraw ourselves. Those are all the systems that we can adopt ourselves in a way that makes sense for us, whereas others may be able to take the leap, big jump, one shot, right? So each person is different, and therefore let's not measure ourselves against somebody else. This is not a competition. We are not trying to compete with anybody. We are trying to make sure that our own change sticks with us, and therefore we need to find the motivation and inspiration to create a personalized approach. And that is very important, because we don't want to create an approach that works for not just for uh, this thing, because this is a self improvement that we are creating for ourselves. In the process we can influence and impact others. And the main thing is to look at, don't take any cookie cutter approach. Typically I would suggest don't say no to it, because the idea is you'll miss out on a lot of things like synergy, right? Synergy is the ability to use your body or other pieces, feedback mechanism that comes from people who care about your progress, right? And a lot of, as an engineer, I have had an engineering degree and a B school degree. And yet after that, I've become a coach now. That is because you create a lot of things that you think is a 0 or 1. It's a Boolean a problem solving model, but that doesn't give you the emotional support. So we need to combine a lot of things, make this whole habit thing come together. Um, I think uh, I think Shrikantji mentioned at the beginning when you are meditating, how you recognize that two ideas. One is you are breathing, and you are also watching that yourself taking a breath, right? And that is very important because there are two identities within us, which is both the Atman and the Brahman kind of element that is within us. Can you look ourselves from a different vantage point of view so that you can make the change and discover serendipitously new ideas so that you can continuously learn, right? And this is all based on holistic sciences that is already there in us. All we need to do is awaken that and use it. And so definitely look for a structured curriculum or structured system that supports you with a lot of expert guidance and personalized support. It is not one size fits all, with appropriate accountability mechanisms and practical tools, like you can use mobile phone and apps and various other resources that are available, with community and peer support, right? And that all of them tracks to a measurable results. And this is kind of what I would suggest. I'm going to take just a short minute, but before that, Dinesh, anything else you want to add? I'll just talk about our program, just to give
That's
people a sense of what it is.
no, please continue. Yeah.
Okay. So I think Dinesh talked about our 12 weeks program. This is what we do for community as a part of global well-being. It starts with gratitude as the first week, where we look at why we are here, why we want to change the habit. And this follows the mandala system of 12 weeks, divided into three mandalas roughly. And that two mandalas, if you can look at it, 21 days to 42 days, depending on how you look at it. And then builds on it to create an intention. And how do we want to track success and look at some tips and tricks for making sure that these are all set up correctly. And that is the first month. And then we look at what is holding us back and how can the group be used effectively. How do we celebrate? How do we reward ourselves? And there is an interesting word called trigger and glimmer. I don't know if you are familiar with it. Trigger is, suppose somebody says something about us which is negative, we get triggered, right? And a glimmer is something, if somebody says something that appreciates, it grows within us. There is a saying called, what you appreciate appreciates, right? So if you say something about yourself that is growing within you, that is the easiest way to glimmer yourself into growth process, right? And that is kind of how we bring it. And what we want to avoid is wrong triggers. And somebody says, oh, you're not doing this properly, or you're not working it well. And those negative talks is what we want to avoid. And this is very important because in English, we talk about as positive mindset or positive psychology. But this goes slightly beyond that into not just positive psychology, but also into a holistic way of looking at it. And how do we create a simplified methodology so that you can stack multiple habits? Typically, we start with one or two habits at the beginning, and then we can start building on it to create multiple habits like a mala. Like you can create one bead, and then you can add more beads into it, and so that you can create a nice mala around it. That will be a good habits stacking on each other. And how do we sustain yourself over a period of time? This is what we have done for Sri Yoga last year, and people have been giving positive feedback. We've done that with Kanpur Parivartan. Dinesh, anything else you want to add in terms of people that have benefited from the program?
Right. No, I think you covered it very well. The stacking habits, I just want to say it's very, very powerful in the sense that, let's say you want to do something in the morning and you align it with the habit right after brushing your teeth. If you align that habit with that, then it becomes an automatic habit. When you're brushing your teeth, the next step, you're going to do that. It's like morning tea. It's a habit, and you get morning tea and you read newspaper or you watch news or you do something. So there is a stack of habits which go along with waking up, making your bed. So if you want to adopt a new habit, connect it with one of the existing habits, build on top of that. And that's very, very useful. Okay, Mani,
Beautiful.
back
Yeah,
to you.
I think rightfully said. I call this kind of meetings as Sahridaya Samvada, which is basically a heart space where we all come into. There is no head space. We are not trying to criticize, or we are not trying to judge, or we are not trying to make other person better. We are trying to make ourselves better, right? And therefore we are trying to lend supporting hand to others who are also faltering because we have faltered in our own approaches in growing our own habits. So each one of us, me, Dinesh, each one of us, while we have been successful in some habits, we have also openly say that where we have failed also. And that way, it is coming from a place of authentic heart space, right? Rather than a head space of criticizing or judging or other things. That is how we come into this space, and that is how we support each other. And that Sahridaya Samvada is what we try to create as facilitators for this 12 weeks so that we can support one another. And with that said, I'm going to leave you with one last piece. This is going back to what Dinesh talks about as suggestions for individual habits and well-being, right? Dinesh talked about 8 modalities or 8 aspects of it. For example, in the physical well-being, when we talk about fitness as the mindset, there are certain practices we can develop. So Dinesh, you want to speak to this slide, and we can
Yeah.
close out.
So yeah, it's pretty obvious here, but I'll just take a minute. Physical, for example, general agreement that 10,000 steps daily, healthy diet, and optimal sleep are the foundation. Emotional, loving yourself, we talked about that, and all emotions are okay. I think happy and sad are part of life. As you begin to accept both of them, and then you begin to discover गम और खुशी में फर्क ना महसूस हो जहां. When you go beyond happiness and sadness, that's where the bliss is, and that's where we are trying to get to. A gratitude journal, we already talked about that. Keeping an open mind is the mindset. Self empowerment, taking responsibility, not blaming others, which we discussed earlier. Realizing we have a choice, and appreciative inquiry, always asking questions which are appreciative of people. And finally, in the spiritual domain, being present, being in the flow, which comes with the mindfulness practices, meditation. So those are some of the things when we look at internal. And when we look at external, the financial is, of course, most people know Warren Buffett's famous advice: save 10% and invest wisely. And after giving 10%, which is also almost every wisdom traditions teach us to give 10% of our time or of our money or whatever we can, and investing it wisely and planning goals and reviewing them. Social area, I have found the power of listening. If you listen to each other deeply, if you are forgiving and accepting of other people, and you show compassion, you'll have many friends. And in occupational area, if you have collaborative attitude and professional growth in mind and a learning mindset, then you'll do very well. Environmental, of course, these days, sustainability has become a big thing. We are talking about sustainable economy, not the growth economy only. And need versus desires. Very nice documentary which has come out by now on Netflix. If you have not seen it, I'll encourage you to see it. And taking responsibility, I think, is also very important. What can I do? And how can I take responsibility for all, rather than just focusing on me and my family? Can I take responsibility for the whole planet? So that is some of the ideas here. So you can, whichever area you feel you want to start, wherever you feel you want to pick one habit, we encourage people to pick at least one habit and practice it for the next 12 weeks. Mani?
Yep, that's it. I think I don't. I'll stop here for any questions because I don't want to keep sharing my slides. I know we have given you a lot of information, and some of it may be overwhelming. That's okay. We are part of the group. We can add some now. There is no buy now. We are not trying to sell anything at this point of time. So there is no. Our objective is to make sure that you prosper from the habit that you have chosen. As long as if for example, this is what saddens me. If I take a habit or I want to go somewhere, if Dinesh gets in the middle of the way, then I can say, hey, Dinesh, get out of Mani's way because he's going somewhere, right? That is completely understandable and fair request. If Mani takes a habit and Mani gets in Mani's own way and not achieving his own objective, that is really sad because Mani should not be in Mani's way. And that is our goal for this meeting. Whatever habits you choose, whatever resolutions you make, right? As long as you are able to achieve it, more power to you. And that is our biggest request for you. If you are getting in your own way, find a way to get out of your own way. That's it.
Thank you so much, Dinesh ji and Manish ji. You have given us wholeheartedly on many levels like physical, intellectual, spiritual, emotional, all levels, and lot of things to, lot of good information. And I'm glad that you are in the group. So uh, there are some questions. If people would like to ask, they can ask now. And before that, I would request Sabnis Kaka to introduce next session's speaker. I think it's Alex, right?
So next Sunday we have Alex Armstrong, who has a farm in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I would say it's like a spiritual heaven, that particular farm. And some of you that are attending this session have attended the Sri Yoga outdoor get together. Generally, we have it in September at his farm. And so he's also both Alex, then his wife and daughter, all are Reiki masters. And so he's going to talk about how he decided to get this farm. He feels that he belongs there. And so he bought this farm, and he's going to talk about Reiki and the farm and so on. And I really encourage all of you to not just attend the session, but if you're convenient, just go to his farm or attend the Sri Yoga get together in September.
Thank you so much, Sabnis Kaka. And now, if anyone like to speak, have some question, comments, anything to Dinesh ji and Mani ji, you are welcome to unmute yourself and ask or talk.
And I also, as you mentioned, I also want to say that I have added them in the WhatsApp group. So if your question is not answered here, you can always ask in that WhatsApp group.
Well, the group is too silent. I would like to add one comment on yours. It was a wonderful session, and I've attended Chandraji's session before also for Anshri Yoga. I think it was 2 years ago, 1 or 2 years ago. He has talked about the habits, but it was a little different session. Just as one wanted to after attending his session also, and then of course Dr. Shekhar Mainos. I've started doing the gratitude journal, but along with that, I do the visionary board, which has also helped to achieve I mean, of course, whatever you write on the board, this is something like you have achieved in the future. That's what you see, but not 100%, but at least you go closer to like 80-85% to give to that motivation. So it's excellent. That was a great suggestion, though.
And
Thank you,
especially a
Alkaji,
lot
for
of
sharing
times,
that.
yeah, a lot of times when you make vision board, not just for our own goals, for Manushya Kalyana. If you're trying to make goals for other people, like for example, the ability Nadi, this thing you talked about, it can be a lot more people can get influenced by that kind of support. More you give to the community, more community gives you back, and therefore the whole
Absolutely.
place can look wonderful, heaven on earth.
Absolutely.
Excellent
Anjali, did
presentation, Mani and Dinesh. And again, they are here to help you. So, either now or just whenever you can ask them questions. And I wanted to check if you have any kind of WhatsApp group or something like that. So whoever is interested in habit, adaptation, something to help them.
And also Anjali Bhide has said like I would like to get connected to Mr. Kapoor's group.
Yeah, I will post the link for that.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Sriji, for habit itself, there is two steps we can take. One is the 19th, Dinesh has an in-person in Bay Area. That is one way to connect. Dinesh ji, can you post that information for those who want to attend in person in Bay Area?
Right, I'll do that.
Yeah, the other one is also after 21st. We want to give some people time to make the resolution for this year and make sure that you try it out. And if you don't are not able to stick with it beyond January 21st, that is when typically I would encourage you to reach out to us, because if you are able to do it by yourself, then that is more than sufficient, because I don't want you to take on something which you don't need it, right? And what we do is both as a community service as well as this, we offer this as corporate offering as well, and that's kind of how we like to give back to the community.
Thank you, Mani.
Maniji. I will stop recording here, but we still have some